Hey guys, Veteran Outdoorsman here, and we're going to discuss a very important but many times underthought or forgotten piece of gear, and that's your hunting knife. Now, I've done a video in the past of what I use as a hunting knife, what I recommend, etc. This is just going to mainly go into some of the features that you probably would want and the importance of and why it shouldn't just be an afterthought and something. Well, you're going through the sporting goods section at Walmart. You see, oh, I need another knife, and just grab one off the shelf and throw it in. You need to put some thought into it. What are you going to be doing with your knife? Um, what kind of features what kind of features would you like to have on your knife? How does it fit? Things like that. So this one, now I made this. If you look real close, let me see yeah. If you look at the top of the spine there, you can see um, the old teeth. This started out as a Nicholson file. Hey, you don't have to make your own knife. You also notice there's tallow and probably some hair and stuff on it. Uh, you certainly don't have to make your own knife. This is my preferred knife. This is my all-time favorite hunting knife. Yeah, part of that is because I made it, but mainly just because I just like the way it fits. I like the way it cuts. It holds an edge great. Those are all things that you're going to be looking for your knife. But why is a knife such an afterthought? Well, knives can be expensive. Um, for a good quality hunting knife, look to spend anywhere from 50 to 150 plus dollars on a good quality knife. Look to spend, 50 to $150 on a good quality knife. You can certainly spend much more than that. You can certainly spend less than that, but more than likely the quality is going to suffer. Um, so it's an expense, and people think, well, I can get by with a cheap such and such brand knife from a discount store or whatever, and you can. I have field dressed multiple deer with, and pardon my dog in the background, she's just nuts. I have field dressed multiple deer with a charade folder like this and a mini buck like that because it's what I had in my hand. Why am I talking about the importance of your hunting knife? Because more than once I've forgotten my hunting knife, left it in the truck or whatever, and had to use something like this. It's an investment that will last you a long time, and it's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. Get a good quality knife. Like I said, you don't have to make your own. If you ever get a chance, though, somebody that has a forge, maybe you have one. It's really cool. But let's look at some features that I look at. Um, some things. Well, first off, let's just think about some things. What are you going to use your hunting knife for? The majority of big game hunters in the United States, especially where I live in the Midwest, are going to be hunting whitetails. Maybe they go out of state and they hunt pronghorns or elk or something like that. The majority is going to be whitetails or something similar. So we're going to lean toward that. So you're going to go deer hunting, or you're going to go elk hunting, you're going to go antelope hunting, something like that. Think about that. Okay, the knife that you find great for skinning and field dressing deer, maybe you want a slightly larger knife when you are elk hunting. Maybe. So think about the game that you're going to be hunting. Think about how far you're going to go are you going to have this in your pack? Are you going to have it on your belt, etc.? Do you want something a little more compact, a folding knife, a buck 110 folder? I've got one of those, and an Uncle Henry or old timer similar knife folder. Those are great knives. Uh, do that might be easier to put in your pack, or you can slip it in your pocket or whatever. Think about those types of things. You want to think about the quality of the blade. Most of the knives you're going to find today are made out of stainless steel, and that has its advantages. Me, my knife tends to sit in the sheath with blood and gore and things on it. Stainless steel doesn't get that patina on it, although I think it looks kind of cool. Stainless steel doesn't rust if it gets wet, or as much. Stainless will rust. It doesn't rust as much. Maybe that's something you're looking for. Maybe you're hunting in a coastal environment, up in Alaska or something like that, and you're getting salt water on your knives, things like that. You certainly would probably want to steer towards stainless steel then. My personal preference is a very high carbon steel because it tends to get sharper and stay sharper longer. So think about those types of things. Structural integrity, just like the Ranch Fairy talks about with his arrows and broadheads and things like that. Structural integrity is very important when it comes to your hunting knife. That's why I like a full tang knife, riveted handle. I like a thick blade. This is probably not quite 3/16. It's over 1/8 of an inch. That's a good thick, my finger for comparison. That's a good thick, hefty blade. I prefer a nice, thick, hefty blade. I like the full tang. There's a reason for that. The full tang is just integrally stronger. If you have a hidden tang, means that what they've done is they've taken the tang portion here, where mine is the full size of the handle. They've taken it and thinned it down and hidden it inside the handle. The thinner it is, the smaller it is, the less strong it is. Okay, the weaker it is. And forgive my camera angles. I need to keep backing up, but I move forward and cut off my head. So a folding knife, like I mentioned earlier, buck 110, something along those lines, is multiple pieces. There's springs, there's hinges, lots of rivets, things like that. And depending on what you use that knife for, it can fail, especially if you're doing prying or batoning. The knife can fail. I like to carry a hatchet with me, a small hatchet, for splitting the brisket and the pelvis. But in a pinch, I have many times taken a stick or a mallet and use this knife, put it up against the brisket or the pelvis, and tat, 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 and drive it through. I'm not going to do that with a folding knife. I'm not going to do that with a hidden tang knife. There may be some out there that are strong enough, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm certainly not going to do it with a partial tang. And a partial tang is one where it only comes to about here, and then the rest is just handle. I'm not going to do that with that. So think about structural integrity. Get a full tang knife. Again, my preference, carbon steel, high carbon steel, full tang. Handle material, think about that. Where are you going to be? I like this wood handle. I like bone handle, or antler. They're durable, etc. Maybe you prefer like G10 or Delrin or something like that. That's fine. Think about your handle material. Think about fit. How does it fit your hand? Buying a knife that's just sitting in a clamshell package without actually holding it could be doing you some injustice. You need to take the knife, Hold it in your hand. How does it feel? This fits my hand very well. I made it to fit my hand. Is it going to fit yours? Maybe not. But I made it to fit my hand. It fits my hand very well. Um, I can use it a lot of different holds. I can hold it in many different positions, and it's comfortable and it fits. It doesn't slip. If you tend to use your knife in wet, slippery environments, which field dressing, you want something that doesn't get real slippery and grimy. I didn't mirror polish this, and I didn't put urethane or something on it because I don't want it to be slick. When blood gets on this, it just kind of soaks in. It raises the grain, and actually, you still get a really good grip. I'm not worried about that. Sure, this knife is filthy. Who cares? It's my hunting knife. You want to think about fit. You want to think about weight. I hunt a lot of public land. I go anywhere from a half a mile to a mile and a half, 3 miles out in the woods. Weight is a big consideration. When you're going over a mile, ounces become pounds. Okay? You want to trim your gear down so that you're carrying the least amount of weight, because ultimately you want to be able to carry 100 pounds of meat out with you that you didn't originally have. So all the weight that you start with, you still have to carry that back plus whatever you killed. It just makes your life easier the less weight you have. Okay? This is not a very heavy knife. I've not weighed it, but you don't want. I've got a cold steel survival and rescue knife at SRK, really nice, full tang fixed blade, real thick blade, but it's a combat style knife or survival style knife, and it probably weighs a pound or more. I have used that for hunting for sure. Something like this, or I've also got a more scaled down version, a very similar handle and blade design, but the blade's about 2 inches shorter. And I like to carry that type of a knife. Anywhere 3 to 5 inch blade seems about right for me. Keeps the weight down, etc. So, material construction. You want a very structurally integral knife. Fit, function. Okay, do you want a gut hook? I personally don't use gut hooks. I've had knives with them. I've never used them. I had one with a gut hook, and I never used it, and it kind of got in the way and snagged on stuff. So I went to a grinder and I ground it off. That's not something I use. Maybe you like the gut hook. Serrated blades. Maybe you like the serrations. To me, the serrations, they get clogged with gook and stuff, and they're not easy to sharpen, so I don't like serrations on a knife. I like a knife that's just plain Jane simple and easy to sharpen. This is flat ground. Not very thinly ground, and the reason that I like that is integrity. The thinner the blade is ground, the more likely you are to chip it or nick it, bend the blade, etc. So I leave it there. You can see the grind there, but it's not ground real thin. It's pretty thick. I mean, this is almost like a scandy ground knife that's not ground at all, but it does have a flat grind, not a hollow grind. Hollow grinds can be very easy to sharpen because it leaves a nice thin edge on where you sharpen it. Leaves a nice thin edge. But they can also bend and chip much easier. So like a flat ground or even like a Scandinavian grind, where all it is just nice and parallel and then it's sharpened on the edge. that holds up much better. And you can get them wicked razor sharp. That one I need to work on because I haven't touched it since deer season. I need to touch it up. But you can get them just wicked, scary sharp. So, fit is most important. It has to be comfortable. If it pinches your hand, if it digs into your hand, you're not going to want to use it. It's not going to be pleasant. It's going to slip. You're going to cut yourself. You're not going to like that. Material, construction, some sort of design where it doesn't slip in your hand, because again, you're going to be field dressing, you're going to be butchering, your hand's going to get wet, the knife's going to get wet. You don't want it to slip. When things slip in wet environments, when you've got a sharp object in your hand, you end up with things like this. If you can see that scar where I cut myself all the way to the bone because my knife slipped, and I cut my thumb all the way to the bone and got 5 stitches. That was a couple of years ago, so I be very careful. Don't forget your hunting knife. Don't neglect your hunting knife. Don't leave it rusting in the bed of your truck. Yes, I've done that. Don't make your knife an afterthought. Well, I need a knife. They had these on sale for $6, so I grabbed one, threw it in my bag. Will it work? Yeah, probably. Are you going to enjoy using it? Probably not. I've got a lot of cheap junk knives, don't get me wrong. I use them for practicing different sharpening techniques. I use them for showing people how to sharpen knives. I use them as loaner knives because if somebody's going to borrow my knife, they're not going to use my good one because it's going to come back with the tip busted off, or it's going to come back with a chip in it, etc. That's not going to happen. So I've got a lot of cheap Frost and such knives that I loan out, and I don't care if they come back. If they do, they're probably going to come back busted. That's fine. But get you a good quality knife. Don't let it be an afterthought. Yes, you're going to spend some money on a good knife. That's a given. This has a leather sheath. I made this sheath. It looks like garbage, but it holds up. You're going to spend money for a good sheath. Don't worry if the knife you have doesn't come with a good sheath. Maybe it comes with a cheap nylon sheath that you just don't like. Nothing wrong with nylon, but you just don't like it, etc. Buy a good sheath to go with it. They don't have to come together. But get a good quality knife. It'll serve you well for years. That's something people don't think about. Well, I don't want to spend $150 on a knife because I only use it a couple times a year. That's true. But a good quality knife, once you learn to sharpen, hey, check out the Ranch Fairy, some of his videos. He's got some good sharpening videos. You can apply the sharpening of broadheads to the sharpening of knives. He does great things. I've done some sharpening videos. You can check those out. I can sharpen a knife. I can make one scary sharp. But my relaying it in a video just isn't that great. So I recommend the Ranch Fairy, and there's some other videos out there. Check out some knife sharpening videos. Learn how to sharpen a knife. Don't be one of the guys that has to take it in and get it sharpened at the end of the season, because you're going to want to touch it up throughout the season. You may want to touch it up while you're working on something. Invest in a good quality knife. Don't be afraid to spend $150 on a good knife. It's going to last you most of your life if you take care of it. Now, if you're somebody that hunts all over the country or hunts in a place where you can get lots of tags, like Texas, and you can hog hunt all year and things like that, a knife like this might only last you 4 or 5 years because you're going to constantly be sharpening it, and eventually you're going to wear out the blade. I get that. But 5 years for $150? That's pretty good. Guys that are more like me, and kill a few deer a year and don't go out of state much, things like that, that knife could last you 20, 30 years as long as you learn to take care of it. Learn how to sharpen it. Learn how to keep the rust off. When season's over, clean it up, sharpen it, put it in your gun case where you know where you can get it so it doesn't magically disappear. You can have it for years. I'll give you a few recommendations for store-bought knives. The Buck Vanguard is an excellent knife, and I really, really, really like that knife. You can get it with a rubber handle. You can get it with a Coca-Cola handle. I believe you might even be able to get it with a stag or bone handle. I'm not sure. I had one with a Coca-Cola handle. I loved it. It disappeared somewhere. I cried. It's over. But I recommend a drop point style knife. If you don't know what a drop point is, it's that. And there's a reason for that. When you're going into a gut cavity, it doesn't stick down and poke stuff. Make your incision, put your finger just under there, ride it up. You won't puncture anything. I prefer that. To me, it's better for skinning and things like that too. A lot of guys like the upswept points. That's personal preference, but for me, I like that. Buck Vanguard is an excellent, excellent out of the box knife, but it's not cheap. Cold Steel makes some good knives. All of the main companies, Case, Buck, like I already mentioned, Charade makes some good knives. I've got a Charade drop point hunting knife with stag handles. Excellent knife. Look at some of the custom companies as well. Make knives out of files and different things. Find you a good quality knife that fits your hand, that doesn't slip, that's easy to sharpen, that holds an edge well. The longer it holds an edge, the longer the blade's going to last. Well, why is that? Because you're not sharpening it all the time and taking the steel away. A must. You need your gun, you need your bow. That's a given. But a must for any type of hunter, small game, big game, whatever it may be, is a good quality hunting knife. I've got lots of them. I'm not really a collector, but I've got hundreds of knives. A good quality hunting knife cannot be dismissed. You have to have a good quality hunting knife. The ease to sharpen thing. You know that a sharp knife is safer than a dull one? Because sharp knives don't slip off of stuff. More people get cut with dull knives than sharp ones. Something that takes a really good edge and holds it for a very long time is what you're looking for. And someone's going to say, well, what about those ceramic knives? They just stay sharp forever. They're okay when you're back home for butchering and things, for skinning and whatnot, for cutting up your meat, etc. I don't like them as a hunting knife because they're not extremely durable. If you're in any kind of leverage situation, you pry a little bit or anything like that, they tend to snap. I don't like that. You want a knife with a little bit of flex. You want a knife that doesn't chip and bend. But I just cannot emphasize the importance of a good hunting knife. You're going to use it for other things. You're going to use it to cut rope. You're going to use it to maybe trim some limbs around your tree stand or around your blind. It's a very useful tool. I've seen guys split firewood with them. I don't recommend that, but I've seen it happen. stick it on there, use a big stick or a mallet and baton it through and split firewood. Um, I've seen seen guys open beer bottles with them, whatever. But it's a very useful tool, and it's something that's just kind of an afterthought to many of us because it's something that we don't use all the time. We want the best rifle we can afford. We want the best bow we can afford. We want our good sharp broadheads. All of that stuff. But then our $6 China knife gets stuck in our pack. We don't even check the edge on it. And then we get out there and we're field dressing the deer and we cut ourselves. And you get, the only blood you should have is from the animal. You shouldn't be bleeding all over the place. It's never a good day when you end up with stitches. So get a good quality knife. If you don't know how to sharpen, get a good quality knife and a cheap junker. And an assortment of stones and whatnot. And take that cheap knife. Get a couple of them. Get a couple of $5, $6 knives. And learn how to sharpen. And once you can get them to where they're just razor sharp and you clip hair off your body and you can do the paper test like the Ranch Fairy does and it just that is when you can sharpen your knife, your good knife. So, don't forget about your hunting knife. Make sure you've got a good quality hunting knife. It's going to cost you some money, but you're going to be glad that you spent that money. It's going to be a much more enjoyable experience using that knife than a cheap knife that could break or gets dull very fast and you're constantly having to resharpen it, etc. And it's just going to make you a much more effective hunter because you're going to be prepared. How many guys have gotten out in the woods and they get ready to gut their deer and I forgot my knife. Again, I've always got a pocket knife, and that's why I have field dressed many deer with a pocket knife. I've got a buddy that says that he's field dressed more deer with a broadhead than he has with a knife because he bow hunts exclusively, and he gets to his deer and realizes, I don't have my knife. He's a guy that doesn't carry a pocket knife. I don't understand that. Everyone should carry a pocket knife. But he's field dressed a lot of deer with a broadhead. Now think about that. That's dangerous, folks. Will it work? Sure, but it's dangerous. So, get you a good quality knife made out of good steel, strong, that holds up, that fits your hand, that isn't going to slip when wet. Get you a good quality sheath that holds up. Learn how to sharpen. Put it in your gun safe so it's nice and safe. Get you a desiccant packet to put in there with the sheath. A thin layer of Vaseline or chapstick on the edge so it doesn't rust if you've got carbon steel. And this season, when it comes time to hunt, you're prepared. This is Veteran Outdoorsman. God bless you all. And we'll see you next time.